Thank you for joining us for Weekdays Live with Reverend Al Sharpton. Take the time to share this broadcast right now. Tell your friends it's time to keep it real with Reverend Al. Comment your questions now in the chat or call Reverend Al Sharpton directly.
February the 4th.
532-5797.
Do you know what time it is? It's Al Sharpton's time. And for the next 3 hours, it's time to put aside all pretenses, deception, denial, or fronting. The time has come to keep it real on Keeping It Real with Reverend Al Sharpton. A very good afternoon to you all across the country. And good morning to our West Coast listeners. Welcome to those listening on Sirius XM, Channel 126, The Urban View, where talk empowers and becomes action. I'm coming to you live from our National Action Network corporate headquarters in New York. And for the next 3 hours, you can join the conversation by calling us at 1-877-532-5797, 1-877-532-5797. And a lot to talk about. The Trump administration is announcing they're going to withdraw 700 immigration agents from Minnesota. The administration officials announced the withdrawal of 700 federal immigration agents from Minnesota following weeks of protests sparked by the fatal shooting of 2 U.S. citizens during enforcement operations then in Minneapolis. Tom Homan, the White House border czar, said the drawdown reflects smarter enforcement, not less enforcement. So when all of a sudden they get smart, they won't admit that the weight of these killings and the consistency of the protests made them back down. And I think it is absolutely right, but they ought to continue. It should not stop with just 700. They need to deal with putting some very serious restraints on whoever is going to deal with immigration enforcement in this country. They can not be allowed to wear masks. They should not be able to deal with warrantless invasions of people's houses and arrest. They should have real clear-cut what are do's and don'ts. And the Congress needs to prove that and need to make sure that that entity does not get funded in the budget that they've now extended 2 weeks, that unless all of those commitments are met. Federal judge also is considering whether Donald Trump can move his New York hush money conviction into federal court, where he may attempt to challenge or overturn the case. And Trump's lawyers have argued that the Supreme Court's 2024 ruling granting presidents presumptive immunity for official acts means the case should be federal. But Judge Alvin Hellerstein has repeatedly ruled the hush money payments were private and unofficial acts. Now, I want y'all to understand how arrogant, displaced this is. Donald Trump was convicted in New York state courts of paying hush money about his affair and his approach on a woman that resisted and said that it was sexual harassment. He was not president when it happened. He was not president when he was convicted. But this man's lawyers and he are trying to now say bring it to federal court because he's the president and the president should have immunity. So it's bad enough that he's claiming immunity for anything he does as president. He's saying anything he's done in his life should give immunity. Now, we were talking about the other day how you're going into a clear autocracy and where they are trying to reverse the Constitution, saying that states ought to run elections, not the federal government. So now you want the states to run, the federal government, rather, to run the elections, not the states. The reason they have states running it is because it's decentralized. You're dealing with county elections, all kind of stuff. So, no, they want to take that out of the Constitution or change it and say, no, the national government we'll run it all from Washington, all elections, including local elections. And it's not enough to give president immunity while he's in office. He should have immunity for everything he ever did in life. If we don't see this as going into an autocracy, I don't know what you call it. It's unbelievable. Unbelievable. He's also tried to cut science agencies. He stalled it, terminated grants and proposals / funds, and the courts and the Congress is stopping that. So, and of course, the Fulton County has now filed Fulton County, Georgia, has now filed a motion seeking to return the seized ballots that the FBI came in and took the other day. Took all the ballots, stuff that we have been over before. He being Trump, is bent on trying to prove that Georgia voted for him and he won the election in 2020, which has been counted, recounted, gone over I don't know how many times. And he's saying, no, they robbed me. He's like a child, kicking and screaming in his crib. He cannot accept that people voted him out. So let's talk about all of that and more. And of course, my prayers go out to the family of Savannah Guthrie, who I've known at NBC. It's appearing more and more her mother was abducted in a purposeful shakedown, kidnapping, rather than her just wandering off being lost. It's looking like a calculated kidnapping. There's been some ransom notes sent in. They're trying to find out how authentic they are. So she and the whole Guthrie family is in my prayers. All right, let's get ready to take some calls. 1-877-532-5797, 1-877-532-5797. And or you can go on the message board at nationalactionnetwork.net, www.nationalactionnetwork.net. The J. Thomas says on the message board, Trump said it's time to move on from Epstein's situation, but not from the 2020 election results that he's mad about and won't accept. This man is pathetic. Jay, you hit it right in the head. Let's go back to 2020, but let's get over Epstein. Yeah. I don't even have to add to that. You said it all. Nicola DeMarco in Tacoma, Washington is on the message board saying Congress should ban ICE racial profiling. It was ruled to be allowed in September 2025 by Supreme Court, Congress has the constitutional power and duty to overturn that. You are correct, Nicola. And that ought to be part of what we put on the Congress as they're all up for re-election this year. And David Kelly is saying, thanks, the Tucson community is keeping vigil in hopes that she will be found unharmed. And I think you are talking about the missing of the mother of Savannah Guthrie. And again, Reuben Powell is agreeing, saying, yes, let us pray for Samantha Guthrie, mother, and a safe return. Let me, I got to read this one. Roderick McCoy says, we knew this guy was crazy, but this is a new level of crazy to even think the elections need to be nationalized. Yeah, it sounds crazy to me, but he said it. And when they asked his spokesperson, well, he didn't really mean it that way, he came back out and said, no, that's exactly what I mean. I'm telling you, we got some madness on our hands, but we got to handle it. Let's take a break. Be right back. Keeping it real. Sharpton. Be right back.
We have a short visit, so we just wanted to greet you all and thank you for allowing us in. Yes, sir. We was here.
They were on the plantation.
Our family was on the plantation. Wow. And that's, of course, that's the slave house. That's one of the slave houses. Good to see you again, sir. It's been 13 years.
That's right.
Good to
How
see
you been?
Doing fine. Last time, and we
Alexander Shelton. How many slaves were staying there?
I have no idea.
This is where they would have a slave.
Yeah, that's what exactly. That was exactly.
The two people that most influenced my life were from South Carolina, James and Jesse. Jesse right up the road with me. I went over his mother's funeral. Jesse walked me to my mother's casket.
Wow.
From South Carolina. That's the balance of my life, James and Jesse.
Yeah.
Civil rights, shoulders.
But also where your people from too.
Literally.
Yeah, right.
And when I knew Jesse was from James, I started president.
Yeah.
And James had died before I knew about him in South Carolina.
Oh, really?
Yeah, James died December 25th. He died Christmas Day, '06. And they came to do the story for February of '07. They came in January. His daughter swear that was his daddy and him and pushing the information out.
Wow.
And I called Jesse and told him, do you know that my great-grandfather was a slave about 45, because Greenville right up to I-20. He said, I told you we was connected. That's why you gotta listen to me. But many people cannot focus because they have not really come to terms with their calling and life purpose. In order to focus, you must also be clear on what you're focusing on. So if you're not clear on your purpose, if you're not clear on your life's calling, then focus on seeking that. Because if you just read the ways and roads you traveled that you didn't even choose, that were sort of just laid out for you by God, in that it's telling you, speaking to you about what your purpose is and what you were born to do and be. I learned the things that I didn't plan had to be planned by God, and God's plan was directed toward God's purpose in my life. And I focus on that. Not focus on what others do, not focus on how well they're doing or bad they're doing, but focus on whether I'm in line and aligned with what I'm supposed to be about. And in order to move straight ahead, you have to be focused on the path you're running on.
Good morning, everybody. Governor Westmore. And as a former honoree of the National Action Network's Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Breakfast, I want to begin by recognizing the leadership of this great organization. My guy, Reverend Sharpton, you're one of a kind. You've dedicated your life to safeguarding and advancing Dr. King's legacy, and I couldn't be more grateful for the way that you have blessed the lives of so many, including mine. I also want to thank Ebony Riley and her team, and Andrea Waters King and the entire King family. Your work continues to shape national conversations about equity and justice, and you inspire so many to pursue their own path in public service. And finally, I am thrilled to congratulate today's Visionary Award recipient, my guy, Mayor Brandon Scott. Mr. Mayor, you deserve this honor. Your leadership is turning your vision for Baltimore into a Baltimore where we can all thrive, helping to drive down historic lows in crime. A Baltimore that has one of the fastest growing economies in the country. You've been an incredible partner in this work, my man. A strong leader for the city, and most importantly, a devoted friend and father. So congratulations, Brandon. And thank you to everyone here who is working to strengthen our communities, to broaden opportunities, and most importantly, to serve the people.
King, Dr. Richardson, most of all, let me thank Reverend Al Sharpton for bringing us all here together today. In the Urban Action Network, I am proud to be a candidate for the presidency of the United States of America. But I am mindful that I wouldn't be here if it had not been for Reverend Al Sharpton running for president, and Carol Mosley Brown running for president, and Jesse Jackson running for president, and Shirley Chisholm running for president. They paved the way, and I stand on their shoulders.
When Coretta Scott King, the widow of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., had this to say about Al Sharpton.
A leader who has protested injustice with a passionate, unrelenting commitment to nonviolent action in the spirit and tradition of Martin Luther King Jr. And I am talking about your leader, our leader, the Reverend Al Sharpton.
I celebrate the day you were born. You have been, over all of your years, such an extraordinary leader. You are a voice of truth, a voice of conscience, a voice of practicality around what we must address and what we can do.
Thank you, Rev. Thanks for that introduction. Look, we've known each other for a long time. I'm grateful not only for your leadership and partnership, but quite frankly, more importantly, for your friendship. And thanks to all of you, members of our nation's most important civil rights organization.
For over 3 decades, the National Action Network has stood on the front lines for our communities, fighting for justice, lifting up the voiceless, and showing up where it matters most. Presidents, world leaders, and global changemakers have all testified to Reverend Al Sharpton's impact and National Action Network legacy of good trouble in the fight for equality. This holiday season, our commitment grows even stronger. We're expanding food distributions, toy drives, and direct support for families who need us now more than ever. Stop right now and join the movement.
Around this is so wicked. Now they're going to, they released last night a memo that said that the FBI was investigating good. They're trying to come up with something on the victim. Not they gonna investigate who shot her. The ICE agent shooting in the head 3 times. They're gonna investigate her. And you wonder why we need movements. You wonder why we need to stand up. Hakeem Jeffries was here Monday. Why we need to deal with this midterm election. Well, Reverend, I get calls on my radio show. Well, I don't see what going to change.
Keeping it real, keeping it real.
I am your host, Reverend Al Sharpton, and we're back. 1-877-532-5797, 1-877-532-5797, and of course you can go on the message board at www.nationalactionnetwork.net. Naturals Products is saying, keep rapper Lil Jon's family in your prayers as his son, young Slade, has been reported missing. Okay, we'll do that. I did not hear that one. We certainly have anyone in prayer in any situation, high profile or not, with children, or in the cases of Savannah Guthrie mama missing. Dolores Seals is saying, Reverend, have you noticed Brian Kemp, the governor of Georgia, hasn't intervened in opposition to Trump's FBI raid on Fulton County's voter election? Very good point. I think, I had the head of the county commission over voting, and I had the congresswoman of the district, Nakima Williams, on Politics Nation Sunday night. I'm going to keep going on that, and I think I'm going to bring up this weekend, thank you, Dolores, where's Brian Kemp? Why isn't he saying things? And one of the reasons I think they want to mess with Georgia is a two-pronged attack. One, Trump is still hallucinating that he won the election and in 2020. And 2, I think they want to dirty up the atmosphere so they can do what they want to do at the polls to defeat Senator Ossoff, who runs again this year for his Senate seat. All right, let me say by way of announcement, since I brought up Politics Nation, we're already booking people, got some heavyweights coming your way again this Saturday and Sunday, 5 p.m. Eastern Time, MSNBC, MS Now, formerly MSNBC. Make sure you watch both nights. I will not disappoint. And, of course, you that are in the New York, New Jersey, Connecticut area, Saturday Action Rallies moves to Mother AME Zion on Saturday, 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. That will be where we are for the month of Black History Month, and then prepare to move into our new large edifice that's going to really surprise people. And so you can make it to the rally, 9 a.m. to 11 a.m., 137th Street between Lenox and 7th Avenue. Mother AME Zion Church is going to be there every Saturday. In fact, this Saturday, We're going to have the former president of the New York City Council, who was announced today that she is the candidate for lieutenant governor on the ticket with Governor Hochul. Adrian Adams is going to be with us this Saturday, kick off Black History Month. She is Black History. Also, you that are thinking about it and made up your mind, I'm coming to NAN's convention this year. You hear so much about it. You see all the people that you need to see and that you can get information and inspiration from. Well, if you made up your mind, register now, because believe me, space is running out. Go to nationalactionnetwork.net, nationalactionnetwork.net, or you can go to the toll-free number right now, 1-877-626-4651, 1-877-626-4651. All right, let's go to the phones and start taking your calls. Let's start in Cincinnati, Ohio, the buzz with Still Bill. Still Bill, you're keeping it real with Al Sharpton.
This is the day the Lord has made, and I will rejoice and be glad in it. Good afternoon, Reverend, and happy Black History Month.
Same to you.
You are truly a positive influence, and I definitely include you in the 100 list of the most Black influential figures in Black history. I also include James Brown, Michael Jackson, and Prince, and definitely Andrew Young, and definitely Obama. I am ready for Black History Month. I truly am. I think it's a time for us to shine individually as a whole. It's like a cameo. I truly enjoy going to libraries and just brushing up on my history and everything. Everything from Rosa Parks to Dr. Charles N. Druin, Dr. Daniel Hale Williams. He was the first doctor that performed a heart surgery. And, I mean, it's just we have a history that is not going to die. And I dare Donald Trump to try to even meddle, to try to erase our history, because we are one. We are strong. We are united. And as far as these Uncle Toms and everything, they will just be by the wayside, plain and simple. And I look at it as I always say, God is my judge. God is my president. And Reverend, you are definitely my minister. You are definitely my whole. You are definitely my shadow. And I appreciate being on this show very much, as I always do. And to your daughter, Dominique, I'm still Bill, and I will keep it real. Keep it real. Thank you for the opportunity.
All right.
I love you.
Thank you, and I'll certainly tell Dominique, still Bill. Let me go to Ira in Washington, D.C. Ira, you're keeping it real with Al Sharpton.
Hey, good evening, Reverend Sharpton. Thanks for taking my call. I'm going to keep it short and brief, 5 minutes. I'm just calling in reference to yesterday. I did give you a thing for Pull Up Past Politics. They had an article today as well, mentioning the things you opened in your opening statement about how this president wants to take over these voting machines. And what that says in the whole, he wants to just run everything and dictate what votes go in, what don't. And that's just a given. So we're not even going to worry about that. And also, I gave you an article to follow up on yesterday about at Justice Ledger 1991 about the black judge who handed this young man who's a mayor's son his buns because he thought he had a right to the city because his people was in charge, and threatened the officer and told him he ain't going to have no job. But it all panned out. He's serving jail time right now. So that's the second thing, is to follow up on that. But my last thing is that they found the young lady's mama, the Miss Guthrie's mama. And also, as I saw on the news from a different state, which I picked up on, they found another elderly body in a trash can. They didn't mention that, but that is true because the sheriff got on TV and said it's an isolated incident, no other thing to worry about. But they found another older woman's body. And my last thing I want to say, and get this out of the way, our accident, that's Assident, in charge, says that he wants to move forward on the Epstein stuff. Bottom line is, it's just blatant. If you can't smell it, see it, or taste it, he just wants to move on so we can't get him on what he is capable of. He says he's not guilty, but everybody else is. Now, come on now. Stevie Wonder sees that.
But wait a minute. Why you know, the contradictory position they're taking is that they're saying move on from Epstein, but at the same time they want Clinton and Mrs. Clinton to testify. So they're not trying to move on. They're trying to move over and protect their own kind, because they've subpoenaed and now worked out a deposition agreement for President Clinton and Mrs. Clinton.
All they got to do is tell the truth, and let Epstein come and tell his truth, and let everybody else who got kicked out tell the truth, and all the people who had facts about this 47 accident has been indicted, and is in these things. They ought to bring him to it, because you can't hide. Although Pam Bondi and her corporation has covered up and blackened out a lot of things, but let me tell you something. Somebody got something that ain't been blacked out. Believe me, when they get out of power or they can't control what's going on, you won't see some things. Thanks for taking my call, Reverend Sharpton. I'm going to call you tomorrow.
All right, thank you for your call. Let me take a break there. A lot of callers. I'm coming back to everybody. Keeping it real. Sharpton. Be right back. It is really a intersection of both emotions, because when I was 11 or 12 years old, so I watched the news a lot, and I became enthralled with the image of Adam Clayton Powell. I was around 11, and I convinced my mother to let me come up to this church to see Adam Clayton Powell. And in those days, people in Brooklyn used to say it's dangerous to go to Harlem. And folk in Harlem, you say it's dangerous to go to Brooklyn. Now, to 135th Street, and I came, sat right back there, and Adam Clayton Powell walked down this platform. And I remember after the church, in those days, Johnson, the pastor's study was right inside with the plexiglass, and I knocked on the door, and I told the secretary I wanted to meet Reverend Powell. She looked down this little 11-year-old boy. She said, "Really?" She said, "Who did I say?" I said, "Reverend Al Sharpton."
That power means dignity. Means we're gonna walk side by side with you, or through you. We're gonna be with dignity and integrity. We don't want any more than you have, and we're not gonna accept any less than you have. That's my thought.
Do you know what time it is? It's Al Sharpton time. It's time to put aside all pretenses, deception, denial, or fronting. The time has come to keep it real on Keeping It Real with Reverend Al Sharpton. You need to keep it real with Reverend Al Sharpton right here on Uber TV. Reverend Al Sharpton, and we're back. 1-877-532-5797. 1-877-532-5797. Let's go back to the phone. Attorney Jennifer Jones Austin is. You know, every day, Monday through Friday, I do 3 hours a day on Keeping It Real with Reverend Al Sharpton. I do 1 hour on Sunday mornings with Reverend Al Sharpton. And I'm live on radio and TV with the Saturday Action Rally. 7 days a week, I talk to our people. hear from them, to call in. I'm sick and tired of people talking for people that they don't talk to. So go on www.nationalactionnetwork.net. Listen to my show, call in, express your opinion. You don't have to agree with me. But let's start talking to each other rather than about each other and lecturing at each other. Let's keep it real with Sharpton.
Happy 20th anniversary to Reverend Al Sharpton on 20 years of keeping it real. 2 decades of truth-telling, fearless advocacy, and keeping the people informed and empowered. Thank you for always speaking power to justice and standing firm for what's right. Here's to 20 years of impact and many more to come.
That I want to end. He talked about the dry bones in the valley.
Don't take it down.
The only reason that the wind could blow life into the bones is because at some point they had to be connected. If the wind had blown into a disconnected body, it still wouldn't have worked. So before he prophesied to the wind, they had to first get the foot bone to connect to the ankle bone, and the ankle bone to the calf bone, and to the knee bone, and the knee bone to the thigh bone. If we are to prophesy to the wind, we must first connect this body. We must connect Eddie Long to Farrakhan and Cornel West to Elders and Lowry to Sharpton. If we can connect this body, then God will blow the breath of life into our community. But as long as we are disconnected, the wind can't blow because it's blowing on disconnected dry bones. But the good news is that we're the children of people that have been through worse than this, and we're still here. So even though I get despondent, I don't ever get depressed, because I want the world to know you won't beat us, because we're the children of those that took the worst form of slavery and brutality that ever lived, that ever existed. Our parents survived the Middle Passage. Only the strong got here, and then we lost our name, our culture, our religion, and we're still here. But you don't know who we are. We're the children of Chaka Zulu. We're the children of Mary McLeod Bethune. We're the children of Marcus Garvey. We're the children of Martin Luther King. We'll be here. We were first, and we'll be last. We know who we are.
Thank God I was blessed to have both in my life. Both historic, strong figures. But if I misused them and listened to not only figures that are not as historic as them, but figures that had nothing to do with the calling and purpose of my life, I would live confused. I'd be double-minded. I'm clear. What I want you to do is be clear. Clear on who you are and why you are. And a lot of that will be exposed to you and others by who you are around and who you allow to enter your head. Keep people at a distance that only have a distant unclear vision of who you are and who you are supposed to be. They could be your blood relatives, but they could not be the ones that accompany you toward what you are.
Keep it real! Keeping it real.
Everybody good?
I am your host,
Reverend Al Sharpton. We're taking your calls. And again, don't forget also, tell us when you call what is the significant part of Black history that you think people should really focus on this Black History Month. This is the 100th anniversary of Black History Month. And our history is rich, and so many people just don't know certain things about our history. I know the other day, when I was talking about the Harlem bus boycott in the 30s, led by Adam Clayton Powell, which was some 20 years ahead of the Montgomery bus boycott. People start saying, I didn't know that. I didn't know they had a boycott of buses in Harlem. People talk about Claudette Colvin, who sat down in the front of the bus a few months ahead of Rosa Parks. In fact, she passed recently. I'm speaking as one of the speakers at a memorial service for her tomorrow in Harlem for her family. A lot of people didn't know about Claudette Colvin. People will not know our history if we don't tell it. And I think that it is absolutely, unequivocally imperative that we tell it, because we ought to be proud of it. 1-877-532-5797, or go to the message board at www.nationalactionnetwork.net. I see the Mayor Rodney Jones is saying New York Governor Hochul has chosen former New York City Council Speaker Adrian Adams as her lieutenant governor. Power move. Yes, and I just talked about that. In fact, I talked to candidate Adams before I went on the air, and she's going to be at the Saturday Action Rally this Saturday to speak, Mr. Mayor, as a candidate for lieutenant governor. And as you know, she's been a member of National Action Network for many years, and I think that's a power move, as you state. I think that Hochul has made a real power move there. All right, let's go to Ray in Cincinnati, Ohio. Ray, you're keeping it real with Al Sharpton.
Yes, sir. Thanks for taking my call, Rev. Yesterday I called and I mentioned that Donald Trump, he decided to burn the country down, and over 70 million people said, I'm going to help you do it. Now I want to expand on that. But first of all, I want to congratulate you on 20 years. It's 20 years, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, now, and I want to talk about that. Now, if you didn't have listeners, if you didn't have callers, and if you didn't have advertisers, would you be on the radio?
Not at all. Couldn't do it.
Okay, Politics Nation, if you didn't have advertisers and you didn't have guests to come on, talk about issues, would you be on Politics Nation? Would there be a Politics Nation?
No, couldn't do it.
Okay, now my point is Trump and the rule of law. This is just one guy who was elected by over 70 million people, but there are checks and balances when it comes to this presidency. Congress can do a whole lot to keep him in check, but they won't do it. It's fine to blame Trump for the things that he's done, but you blame Congress for letting him do it. At least I would. You blame Congress for letting him do it, and I think they're getting a free pass. And the only thing that he can threaten them with is a primary. They're worried about losing their jobs than the rule of law. I'm talking about Congress, Senate, the House, and even the Supreme Court, and a lot of these judges could step in. So for one man to have all this power, he could be checked, but he's not. I want a lot of people out there to realize that Donald Trump can be checked, and he's afraid of this upcoming election because he said they're going to primary me. I don't know if they're going to have enough votes. Not primary, but they're going to impeach me. But I don't know if they're going to have enough votes in the Senate to do it. The House, they will. The Senate, probably not. Because I think you need, 60? You need 60 in the Senate, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's all I'm saying. Donald Trump can be checked. A lot of these, the House, and the Senate, they're getting away with, it's almost like they're getting a free rein. And if I had the power to protest every last Republican senator in the House and in the Senate, I would do it. Every last one of them protest in front of their houses, saying this, everything that's going on in Minneapolis, your neighbor, these elected officials are making it happen. I would shame them. And so, like I said, Trump is just one man who can be checked, but he's not. All right, Rev.
Wait, let me ask you this: Why do you think they're not checking him?
Well, yeah, the only power that they have, Rev, is the power of a Senate and Congress. This goes back, 10 years ago when he first came on. If you don't do what I say, I'm on primary. They're scared to be primary. I mean, you scared of losing a job that every 2 years you have to fight for in the House, and every 6 years you have to fight for in the Senate? Is that worth losing the rule of law? So I can understand. Really, I can't. When it comes to these colleges, these law firms that's bending the knee, and other law firms went to court and won. A lot of these prestigious law firms, they bend the knee to Trump, while all the ones that's not as prestigious, they're winning in court. So I think it just comes down to these politicians in the House and in the Senate. They're worried about their own skin, their own power. They got to where they are, a lot of them, by Trump not endorsing them, because they've been in power.
I think you're right.
They're giving Trump too much power.
And I think that he's bluffing them, and they're going for it. But thank you for your call. Let's go to Mustafa in Cincinnati, Ohio. Let's stay in Cincinnati. Mustafa.
Hey, good afternoon, Reverend Sharpton.
Good afternoon.
Yeah. I just want to add that Haitians got a temporary reprieve from their determination of their temporary protective status here in Ohio. However, the temporary protective status is temporary.
Right.
We and they must continue to fight and put pressure on them gaining permanent residency, which lead into citizenship. Now, why am I saying this? I'm saying this because ICE is already here. They have an office in Blue Ash, just a stone throw away from Cincinnati. They have an office there. They have people here. But the purpose of this is if they come in as stormtroopers, as they did in Minnesota, me and anybody is subject to being picked up, shipped off somewhere, and it may be days and weeks before we're able to get out. But we have to always be mindful that this fight is everybody's fight. Everybody. Not just Haitians, not just Africans or Hispanics. This is all American fight because our democracy is at stake. Thanks for taking my call.
All right, thank you for your call. Let's go to Gene in Georgia. Gene.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I hear you.
Okay. First of all, I want to commend you for the job that you do. I feel you do so much, and you get not enough recognition for what you do. To me personally, I've been trying to get in now for 2 weeks, but second to Jesus, you are a man for me worth waiting for. So to me, you're like Paul, the voice crying in the wilderness. And a lot of people out here is like when God told Noah that it was going to rain. When you tell them what's going on and what's happening, they go about their lives like nothing is happening. But when that rain comes, it's going to be a lot of them that's not going to find themselves able to get on that boat. But you're warning people out here what's going on and what is happening. To me, you like a voice crying into the wilderness. And also it says, be ye doers of the word and not hearers only. To me, not only are you a hearer of the word, but you're also a doer of the word. You put yourself and your life on the line every day for us out here, and I don't think you get enough appreciation for that, personally. And I want to say, I, as a black man, 77 years old, I appreciate you. So, second, I want to say, Trump is worse for America than any disease. Hello?
Hold on 1 minute. I got to take my break, but I'm going to let you finish on the other side of the break. We'll be right back, keeping it real. Sharpton, be right back.
No justice! No justice! 62 years ago today, Martin marched in Washington. 62 years later, the dream is not dead.
I'm here because I must be here. Democracy is not there for the pig, and you have to fight for democracy. That's what it is. What Trump will erase, we will replace.
Is the dreamers in many cases have reversed and tried to turn it into a nightmare. We come to Wall Street rather than Washington this year to let them know you can try to turn back the clock, but you can't turn back time. We gonna keep the dream alive on Wall Street.
Today, an Illinois judge sentenced the former sheriff's deputy responsible for the 2024 murder of Sonya Massey to 20 years in prison. While this conviction represents accountability, I believe nothing short of a life sentence could truly match the life that was taken. Sonya Massey was in crisis and deserved care, not violence. In 20 years, this individual may walk free, but Sonya will never return to her family, never live out her future, never get another chance. National Action Network stood with her loved ones and community then, and we will continue to stand with them now. We must fight to ensure no other family suffers such a horrific loss and demand real reforms, including stronger standards and background checks in law enforcement hiring. This is the work NAN has carried forward for 35 years, standing in the tradition of Dr. King, fighting for one standard of justice and refusing to be silent in the face of police violence and inequality. Our mission remains clear: to protect our communities, demand accountability, and ensure equal justice under the law. Justice must be more than a moment. It must be a movement.
Some of you forget where you come from and forget how you got there and act like you got there because you were qualified or that you had a good resume. But some of us had to pay a price for your resume to even be read. Some of us had to take nights in jails and licks upside the head or shut out of boardrooms like Byron so you could walk down red carpets and act like you got there by yourself. So I received this award with a special place in my heart and on my shelf because I'm getting it from a freedom fighter who never forgot where he came from and how he got there. Yes, we've come a long way. We've had now a black president and now a black vice president, but we still can get shot down and have to march to get a case in court. We still can get shut out of boardrooms. We're still doubly unemployed in a good economy. So we're gonna have to keep marching. And I thank not only my family, a mother that raised me by herself, but I thank that lady at the end of the march that knows she won't be on TV that night and knows her name will never be in the paper, but she believed in me enough to get at the end of the line and make me look good. Because Dr. King used to say, if you call a march and no one shows up, you just going for a walk. And I want to thank those that marched with me. 32 years ago, here in Los Angeles, we marched. And then many years later, with George Floyd and others, we're still marching.
And I'm going to keep marching. I'm going to keep agitating. And I'm going to keep going. Until we don't have to do it anymore. Eddie, known you a long time. Mariah, Chris, and your kids. And I promise you this. The only thing that I really live for is I get up with this dream that every bigot, every racist, everyone in this country that hates will say, damn, he's up again. Hello, New Orleans. Let me tell you straight. They did not think we could come and be here tonight. They cut budgets and advertising. But one black man, Rich Newton, has said, I don't care. My families come together every 4th of July weekend, and Essence will happen, because that's who we are. Give a big hand to Rich Newton for bringing us back. The essence of who we are is essential to what made this nation. We built this nation. We made this nation. We created the essential dollars that this nation lives off of. We don't care what bill they pass. We will not back up. We will not back down. We will not give in. We will not be chased out. We don't care who's in the White House. We will organize our house by house. We came over the Middle Passage. We survived slavery. We survived Jim Crow. Don't you give up now. Don't you turn back now. Stand up, black man. Stand up, black woman. Reclaim your dignity. Reclaim your place. So we stand with the Global Black Economic Forum. We stand with Essence Magazine because that's who we are. So don't give in now. Yes, there's some rough days, but we've been through rougher days than this. Yes, Trump is a bad dude, but we beat badder dudes than Trump. So let's party with a purpose, because our rhythm and our music reminds us who we are, because we can smile through our pain and organize for our gain. Let's stand up and let's celebrate who we are. Thank you, God bless you.
I want to talk to you. I want to talk to you. Just wait. I believe that.
Good morning, everybody. I hope the coffee has kicked in by now. I want to start by thanking your leader, the Reverend Al Sharpton, and everyone at the National Action Network for 35 years of standing up for civil rights and opportunity for everyone.
And I couldn't be more grateful for the way that you have blessed the lives of so many, including mine.
As we look today on King Day, let us not forget that we had to struggle to even have this day. They did not wake up one morning and say, let's give a federal holiday to Martin Luther King. People petitioned, people marched. Let us remember now, as we bring our children and grandchildren up the Potomac, that they can see the Washington Monument, the Lincoln Memorial, the Jefferson Memorial, and one memorial that never served as president, but changed this country more than any other American. Dr. Martin Luther King. Keeping it real.
This was an amazing MLK breakfast.
It is truly.
I am your host.
More importantly, this is
Reverend Al Sharpton, and we're back. 1-877-532-5797. 1-877-532-5797. And let me go back to Gene in Georgia, WAOK. Gene?
What I was saying about Trump. To me, Trump is the worst something that ever hit America. Any disease, he's the worst. Any natural phenomena, he's the worst. The Bible says a corrupt government will vex the people. Therefore, this corrupt governed hierarchy that he got is reaching down into the soul of people here in America, and it's corrupting people. And he's like a mob boss. Not only will he threaten you, but some of his little minions out there will come and make a hit on your family and anybody else that he don't like. And I believe that the reason that Trump is holding these Epstein files up because there's evidence in there to prove that he had sex with underage girls is why he's holding this up. If he didn't have that to hide, he would have turned these things over. He turned Bill Clinton over. So I'm saying of it is, he said he was protecting high-profile people. Bill Clinton was high-profile. He didn't have no problem turning him over. So I believe that Trump is in these files, and he's in there having sex with underage girls, and that's why he's keeping it there. And you had asked about Black history. Two things on that, and I know you got other calls, and I'm going to try to wrap this up and get out of here. Okay, first of all, know your history. Second of all, know the value of your history. America would not be what it is today if it was not for Black and minority people. It would not be it. The second one of it is that make better choices with your finances. America, cars run on gas. America runs on finances. Make better choices with your finances. And stop just being a consumer. Because the worst thing in the world for a consumer is that they always being consumed. And I think that they got these records from Georgia that when the time comes to vote, ICE going to be standing out there in them lines, snatching people out of them lines so they can't vote. That's just my opinion. And Reverend Sharpton, I appreciate you taking my call. You're a stand-up type of guy. I feel that all the way from the longest hair on my head all the way down to the bottom of my feet. And I appreciate you. Thanks for taking my call.
Let's go to the next call. Let me go to Lola. I want to talk to Lola in Philadelphia.
Yes, Reverend Al.
Yes, go ahead.
Oh, okay, yes. Hi, Reverend Al. Congratulations on your monumental 20 years. I want to say this, and I want to be very clear, and hopefully, because this is a national, reaches outside of the, just I guess for this country, that we have to be very strategic about the upcoming voting, because Steve Bannon was on Fox News and have been on these podcasts, these right-wing podcasts, talking about that ICE is going to definitely be deployed at all the voting stations across the country. And they specifically spoke about Philadelphia. He said after he talked about going to Georgia, what they already did, and then they're coming to Philadelphia. So he's saying that they're not going to let these states steal the election, which we know the elections weren't stolen. We know that. But they're trying to make up this big hype that the elections were stolen. So now they're trying to scare people. And so I implore everybody out there, it's now February, Black History Month. make it in for our ancestors. Make sure you have your right documents, your right ID. If you need any help, reach out to the public services in your city. If you need people to help you, reach out to the organizations and the agencies that we can help. I volunteer some of those. We will help you get your if you don't drive, you can just get a non-driver's license. You can send away for your passport. You can get different things. Don't be afraid. What they're trying to do is put fear in everybody, Dr. Al. Because let me tell you something. I'm not afraid. I'm not afraid because I'm gonna tell you this, Dr. Reverend Al, and I mean this from the bottom of my heart. I'm gonna die from something. But and so everybody's going to leave this earth because we're living to die. Nobody's going to live forever. But I'm telling you this. I will die for my rights. I am not afraid. I am Malcolm X and Martin Luther King and Rosa Parks and Franny Lou Hamer are coming up through my body, and it should come up through everybody's body. I am not afraid. I am not going to be deterred from my right to vote. I am voting, and as I've done all these years, I get my truck, we rent vans, and we take elderly people who want to vote in person. We take seniors, seniors, I'm talking about from high schools, from all over who want to vote and do different things. They are trying to put fear in people not to vote, people who might be afraid that, they don't have the right ID or something like that. But let me tell you something, people. Do not be afraid. Now is the time. Do you have your right information? Do you have your right non-driver's license? Is your stuff up to, do you have to renew things? Do not be afraid. Do not be deterred from them talking about they're going to be standing out there. We have the right to vote. And so you think you're going to take us back to when our ancestors, in Philadelphia, we have a statue, the Okado statue, Okado Salvage statue, who died down on Market Street for voting. He was going out to get people to vote, and they shot and killed him. We have a statue of him around City Hall. And so Philadelphia is the birthplace. And so do you think we're going to not vote? And so they can have ICE there trying to scare us, but they have to be a certain mileage away from where we're walking in, and they cannot stop and harass people. That's against the law. And so we got to get we have a DA here, Larry Krasner, who's not playing. So we have to get all the rules, all the laws together to make sure that we are prepared in May, and to make sure that we are prepared in November, because they're trying to steal this election. So Steve Bannon, and I know you saw it, Reverend Al, when he's talking about they're going to have ICE everywhere in the voting, out where people are going to vote. Please, everybody, do not be afraid. Let your ancestors speak through you, come up through your body, and say, I will not take this. Get your everything together. Reverend Al, I'm telling you, with everything that's inside of my body, I feel like I can't even sleep at night if I let my ancestors know that we have not gone down without a fight. I'm telling you, I feel so you just enraged, but I feel invigorated that I have to do it. That you can sit there and say all that stuff that you want to say, Steve Bannon and Trump, but you're not scaring us, because you know why? I'm legal, and everybody here is legal. People who are illegal immigrants, and I don't even use that word, that are undocumented people can't even vote. So what are you talking about? They can't even vote. So the people who are walking up to vote are legal United States born residents or legal immigrants who have done all the things to get their papers and to vote. So now you're talking about you're going to try to scare people who are legal here? No, you can't do that. So he can keep talking that trash all they want, but people, do not let him put fear in you. Reverend Al, I'm telling you, I just can't even implore to you how angry I am, but how recharged, and how I'm not going to sit down and take this without a fight.
Let's go. I wanted to fix one, but let me take this one and I'll come back. Let's go to Yessie in Atlanta, and then I'll come back to the call I was getting ready to go to. Yessie, you're keeping it real with Al Sharpton.
Greetings, General.
Greetings.
The sister hit on a very, very sweet spot in my realization here in this land of America. She said, for our ancestors, which, in my assessment of what's happening, we need repair for what is taking place on the land of our ancestors, and or by reason of our being brought to this land. and the ancestors who suffered during that aspect of our being here. Notwithstanding, either psychological or sociological perspective you take means we need the type of diplomacy that repairs who we are on this land, addressing the corporation, the United States of America, over what we have been used for in their deception on this land. They, whether we call it slavery, whether we call it a world war, it's obvious that our people were either brought here centuries ago or were already here, and there are certain lawful financial vehicles that have been left out of our educational pool, and we're being divided by who we can find out we are. On social media, there's a challenge, the MOORs versus the MUURs. And that doesn't exist in terms of us being opposed to each other with the truthful information about the founding of this country, no matter what color the people were who were involved, and how it affected the many tribes that were already on the land America before the United States of America got here, and were governing themselves in many ways, one of which was the Iroquois Nation, one of which is the Washita Nation, which is presently active in what we call Louisiana. And what I'm mostly saying, Rev, is our leadership and our educators have to go and get our, I'm going to say 10 to 15-year-olds right now and give them a real education about the grandeur of who our people are on this land. We're not suffering just from a slavery that took place here. We're suffering from a grand theft. And that grand theft includes the renaming of us and reclassification of us as various things like colored or Negro or African American, anything but the tribes that existed here, or the few tribes which gave up and tried to make peace with this people. Those are things that repair our people. What say you, Reverend Al?
Well, I think that you hit several themes right on the head. I think that Carter G. Woodson, we in Black History Month, talked about the miseducation of the Negro. And I think that the re-education and the education period of our community is basically what you're talking about, is not only wanted, it's necessary, it's really mandatory, because we have been trained to think as servants and to adjust rather than to acclaim ourselves as full citizens, full human beings in this country that built this country. And I think in those areas you outlined are what is necessary, from infrastructure to finance to you name it, even to governing. There's a science to governing. We think politics is just, some civil duty. It's a science to governing. So I think what you're saying is right down the alley we need to be talking about during Black History Month. I'm going to bump up on a break. Let me take my break. Thank you for calling 1-877-532-5797. Sharpton. Keeping it real. Be right back. As we look today on King Day, let us not forget that we had to struggle to even have this day. They did not wake up one morning and say, let's give a federal holiday to Martin Luther King. People petitioned, people marched. Mrs. Coretta Scott King, who never has gotten the credit she deserves in being the force behind this movement. Congressman John Conyers, Stevie Wonder, and others. And Ronald Reagan, who had called Martin Luther King a communist, ended up being the president that had to sign the bill for Martin Luther King's federal holiday. The reason why we know struggle works is this holiday is a result of struggle, signed by a president that never thought it would be. Let us remember now, as we bring our children and grandchildren up the Potomac, that they can see the Washington Monument, the Lincoln Memorial, the Jefferson Memorial, and one memorial that never served as president, but changed this country more than any other American, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. But we gather this morning because everything Dr. King stood for is at risk. As we speak, we're waiting to see what the Supreme Court will do with Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act, one of the major achievements of the King movement. As we speak this morning, this sitting president has declared war on DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion, which is the core of the Civil Rights Act of '64. We are under attack, and we should not be taking this as a day off. This is a day on to fight to keep what was maintained. To see, I remember 6 years ago, Martin III and I were in Minneapolis leading the marches around George Floyd. I did the eulogy at his funeral. 6 years later, we see a white female, unarmed, killed in Minneapolis. We see people being racially profiled. We see that there are those that would want this to be the last federal holiday named after King. Don't you be deceived. This sitting president and his cohorts would want to end Martin Luther King Day. But just like we will not let them end this day, we will not let them end voting rights and Civil Rights Act and DEI. It's not enough to remember and honor the dreamer and let them kill the dream. And that's why National Action Network has every year started in Washington, D.C. with this breakfast, and then we go to New York with our public policy forum. And every year we try to set an agenda and go into April. We always have our national convention in April, which is the month Dr. King was killed, to say that they killed the dreamer, not the dream. And those of us that come out of that movement is going to continue to fight. This April will be our National Action Network is 35 years old in this April at our convention. One of the things, though, we've been most proud of is to try to keep the assignment that we were given. As I said, Mrs. Coretta Scott King never got the credit she was due. She's the matriarch of this movement. You must know that Dr. King was in Boston, had graduated Morehouse College, 19 years old, went to Boston University, an Ivy League school at a time many blacks couldn't get in them. Met a young lady who was in conservatory, was going to be an opera singer from Marion, Alabama, Coretta Scott King. They decided to go back south. A lot of blacks that went north and had their upper movement never wanted to go back south. But for whatever reason, Dr. King wanted to go back south. And Mrs. King stood right with him and went to Alabama and ran into history. It is always those that accept the calling that change history. And we should never forget the sacrifice made of Dr. Martin and Mrs. Coretta Scott King, because they did not have to go and lead a boycott. They were Boston University Conservatory graduates. They chose to fight. And when it fell their lot, they kept fighting. And even after Dr. King was assassinated, she kept the movement going. Martin III bonded me and his mother, and she used to reprimand me. Al, you got to be careful with your language. Al, I know you up north, but do this, that, and other. She got on me about being not only in the tradition in your actions, because we always was there, but even in your rhetoric. And it was because of that it meant so much. For the last 30 years, Martin and I have walked step by step together because we had that bond, and I felt that Mrs. King gave us that. He has kept this dream alive all over the world. He has worked with the offsprings of Mahatma Gandhi to keep this tradition going. But I thought I knew a lot about how God operates because I've been preaching since I was a little boy. So I thought I'd never see another person in the spirit of Coretta Scott King. But Andrea Waters King walks and talks and operates in the spirit of Mrs. Because sometimes I turn around and think Mrs. King is back. She is more adamant. When Martin and I are saying, well, I don't know about this, she gets us on the Zoom and zooms us up. Say, no, y'all got to do this and this way. So I want to bring, before we start the awards, to the stage, the heirs of Dr. Martin Luther King and Coretta Scott King, Andrea Waters King and Martin Luther King III.
King, Dr. Richardson, most of all, let me thank Reverend Al Sharpton for bringing us all here together today. The Urban Action Network. I am proud to be a candidate for the presidency of the United States of America. But I am mindful that I wouldn't be here if it had not been for Reverend Al Sharpton running for president, and Carol Moseley Brown running for president, and Jesse Jackson running for president, and Shirley Chisholm running for president. They paved the way, and I stand on their shoulders.
When Coretta Scott King, the widow of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., had this to say about Al Sharpton.
A leader who has protested injustice with a passionate, unrelenting commitment to nonviolent action in the spirit and tradition of Martin Luther King Jr. And I am talking about your leader, our leader, the Reverend Al Sharpton.
I celebrate the day you were born. You have been, over all of your years, such an extraordinary leader. You are a voice of truth, a voice of conscience, a voice of practicality around what we must address and what we can do.
Thank you, Rev. Thanks for that introduction. Look, we've known each other for a long time. I'm grateful not only for your leadership and partnership, but quite frankly, more importantly, for your friendship. And thanks to all of you, members of our nation's most important civil rights organization.
For over 3 decades, the National Action Network has stood on the front lines for our communities, fighting for justice, lifting up the voiceless, and showing up
Keeping it real. Keeping it real.
World leaders, and global
I am your host.
have all testified that
Reverend Al Sharpton, and that we're back. I think what Lola was saying before we went to break bears some pausing for the cause. Is Lola still on? I think we let Lola go. But I think that what she's talking about with these elections, and particularly as we deal with this Black History Month, we need to realize that we have had to fight for the right to vote. Obviously, during slavery, we couldn't vote at all. During Reconstruction, we could vote, And then they took that back from us under Jim Crow because we put 2 blacks in the Senate, over 20 blacks in the Congress. And we had to fight from the beginning of the 20th century. There were selective places we could vote as black people, but mostly we couldn't. And there was no protections, which is why the the Voting Rights Act of '65 was to stop them from gerrymandering and having tests that no human being could pass. Come into the election site, and yeah, you can vote, but how many jellies in that jar? All kind of stuff. We are right back there now. That redistricting is gerrymandering, having all kinds of maneuvers is to take back our right to vote and taking away any voter protection. Because behind that, they'll take away services, rights, education, because you have no weapon that will disempower them. So I think what she said bears some digging in. I see on our message board, Percy Johnson is listening. I'm at work training home care workers how to get good trouble in 2026. All right, Percy, do your thing. Work it, work it, work it. Juanita Jones, 2025, says, good day, Rev. We love you and praying for you, your daughter's grandson, and your family. I agree with your caller as to the Republicans in Congress and the Senate would do their job. We would not be here. No doubt about it. No doubt about it. And in order to make them do their job, we have to do our job. Show up and show out. Let's go to Raj in Cleveland, Ohio. Raj.
Hey, thanks, Rev. Thanks for taking my call.
Yes, sir.
Hello?
Yes, sir.
Oh, yeah. Thanks for taking my call. Yeah. So, the one caller was saying that he thought, he said, he was asking what are the Republicans that is afraid to tell Trump no and stand up to Trump. They're afraid that they'll be primaried. Well, that's just on the surface. But behind closed doors, they've been known to say that they're afraid of for the safety of their families and loved ones and even their own lives and personal safety. Okay, and that's not hard to believe when you see the judge's house got bombed. Was that a few months back?
Mm-hmm.
Got firebombed, yeah. And you said two Congress people in Minnesota got shot. So that's not off, it's out of the realm of possibility that those reports are true, that the congressmen are afraid of more than just being primary. And, they get death threats. You see people like Marjorie Greene Taylor, even Jasmine Crockett. She's a Democrat. She's got a bunch of death threats and stuff, and no telling who else. But and you were saying about Trump, he just can't accept defeat. Now, he admitted that he lost that Biden 2020 election. He slipped up and admitted it, and he admitted it behind closed doors as well. And he had his advisors tell him and everything. And then he still went to court like 60 times, and the judges told him there was no evidence. And then he appealed it, and they said nope. They still denied, told him you lost. And then that's when he went to the January 6th move. But the thing is, he studied Hitler, and his lineage, his parents come from through Germany, and I believe by Germany having two of the three rights in history, that they feel like. I mean, he feels like he's entitled to be a Vladimir Putin or Hitler and any other dictator or autocrat in the world. He feels like that's his right, his birthright. And then you got like the Heritage Foundation, you got the evangelicals, all these organizations and think tanks behind him, powerful and wealthy. You got Elon Musk, whose parents were, I think they were involved in the apartheid in South Africa during the Mandela days. Okay, and you got people like that, Peter Thiel. People, he's bringing these foreigners with all this wealth and power that's known to be racist and stuff over here to team up with. So that's he's if you look at it the way he's lining everything up and everything's been like played out, with this Project 2025, it's clear to me that he's just saying, I don't care. I don't care. What reality is. I'm gonna go down trying to be what I want to be. The people be damned.
And that is clearly what he's saying. The question is, how are the people going to respond? I'm not worried about what he says any longer. It's clear what he's saying. Question is, how are we going to respond? And like you say, yeah, he can threaten lives. He can and do all of that. And the question is, are we going to live in fear, or are we going to go forward with courage? That's how we broke through in Black history, and that's what we need to emulate or get off the scene and sit down and let those that are not afraid do what needs to be done. Let's take a break. Be right back. Keeping it real. Sharpton. Be right back.
Good morning, everybody. I hope the coffee has kicked in by now. I want to start by thanking your leader, the Reverend Al Sharpton, and everyone at the National Action Network for 35 years of standing up for civil rights and opportunity for everyone. You reminded us that change doesn't happen overnight, but it does happen, as long as we don't give away our power. I also want to recognize my friends, Martin Luther King III and Andrea Waters King, who continue to be such an important part of this movement. Finally, I want to congratulate another great friend, Eric Holder, on this well-deserved honor. Eric was obviously an outstanding Attorney General, and after the career he's had, he could have easily decided to ride off into the sunset. Sometimes I think that his wife Sharon wishes he had, but that's not who Eric is. Instead, over the last decade, he's built the National Democratic Redistricting Committee into a leading force in the fight against gerrymandering. And thanks to them, we've been able to push back some of the worst attempts to undermine our elections. It speaks to Eric's love of country, but also his recognition of how important this work is. He understands that our democracy isn't self-executing. We have to fight for it each and every day. And that's going to be especially true as we head into the midterms later this year. So, thanks to Eric and his team for doing everything they can to put our elections on a level playing field. And thanks to all of you for helping people recognize their own power and put it to good use. Take care, everybody, and God bless.
No justice, no justice, no justice. What do we want? What do we want?
We are the sons and the daughters. We gotta stand up and make it loud. Just like our God told the Pharaoh, let my people go, go. We are a new generation from the ones who have come before. He's calling us into freedom. Let my people go, go. We're gonna shine at the shade.
I had a thought this morning that I want to share with you about mentorship. I am able to do a lot of what I do because I had great mentors, but there are correct ways and incorrect ways to mentor people, in my opinion. I was mentored as a boy preacher by Bishop F.D. Washington, one of the great Pentecostal preachers of his time. Then Reverend William Jones, who became my pastor after Bishop Washington died, who was unquestionably in the top 5 black church ministers, theologians. Reverend Jesse Jackson, who I started my activism under his leadership, he and Reverend Jones. And I learned politics directly as a youth director from Shirley Chisholm. So even though I didn't finish college, I had the most unique education in the world from being exposed to giants. But the one thing I learned is as I grew older and people started coming younger than me and wanted me to teach and mentor them, the magic of the mentors I had is they did not want me to be their clone. They wanted me to learn things from them and use my own gifts and talent in my own unique way and let me do things on my own, because they knew that if I flopped in some things, it would teach me for the other things. They'll come and help me once I was down, but they were not going to have me avoid being down. And they were not going to impose themselves on me. Why am I saying that? Because too many mentors want clones. And too many mentees want their mentors to put them on a pedestal. Oh, so-and-so didn't do this for me. Oh, so-and-so didn't open doors for me. If they gotta open doors for you, it may mean that they knew you weren't ready to go through those doors. Their job is to prepare you. Your job is to develop your own skills, your own unique ways. And I don't care if it's my daughters, who both have come into their own, or anyone else. I'm not a talent agent. I did not form National Action Network to give people their step up. I formed it to fight for justice for everybody. If talented people get in, it's my job to invest and give them a platform. It's their job to get on the platform and perform and show their ability. Sitting with me today in the office as I talk about is one of my mentees, Reverend Stephen Marshall. Now, Stephen, you just came around us when you were how old?
11 years old.
11 years old. You just turned 40 and now you're called to the ministry?
Yes, sir.
And what do you do in National Action Network?
I formulate policies, lead in various regions, but most importantly, I senior advisor to you on all things from social justice strategies, politics, intergovernmental affairs, you name it, community organizing, all of that stuff.
And I could go through scores of others. My daughters started Huddle. They got Huddles now, which is for young people to meet once a week all over the country. I just saw the video from the Las Vegas National Action Network chapter. Now, when you decided to preach, did I ever tell you to become a preacher?
Not one time.
Who called you to preach?
The Lord.
All right. And did I say go to this school or that school?
No, sir.
Did I open this door, that door? Did I tell you be ready when the doors open?
Always be ready and prepared.
And that's what I'm saying. Get you some young people than you that you can help along the way. But don't be their talent agent. Their talent must speak for themselves. And anybody that grumbles with you about so-and-so didn't do something for them, maybe it's because they didn't feel you were ready, or that they felt if they did it, you wouldn't do it on your own. But we all don't live forever. I want the next generation to speak of me, of National Action Network, and others, the way I speak of Reverend Jones and Bishop Washington and Shirley Chisholm and Reverend Jackson. But I just don't want young people to feel that somebody ought to give them. Keep it real. Keeping it real. Give them the ring. I'm your host. Whatever it is you're in. Reverend Al Sharpton, and we're back. 1-877-532-5797. And don't forget, Politics Nation with Al Sharpton live at 5 p.m. Eastern Time. Saturdays and Sundays, and I'm already working on this weekend with all these moving parts. I keep these senators and governors and members of Congress on the show because they need to answer direct questions I watch some shows sometime in frustration, and some of my colleagues in anchoring shows and various networks seem a little afraid to ask certain questions or to get in certain discussions, or they, I don't know what they're doing. I mean, maybe because I host an opinion show, people know I'm gonna give my opinion, but I also get the opinion of our populace around the country, all people that want to know certain things. So make sure you watch it. Make sure you support it. 5 p.m. Eastern Time on MS Now, formerly MSNBC, every Saturday and Sunday, and it's gonna be rocking this week with a lot of these changes that are going on. We're gonna break them down and have those in the middle of it on the show. Also, I'm so excited that this Saturday, you that are in the tri-state area, we're going to have the first of a series of Black History Month Saturday action rallies at the historic Mother AME Zion Church in Harlem, 137th Street and between Lenox and 7th. And this church is where Paul Robeson was a member, Frederick Douglass spoke at, Madam C.J. Walker's funeral was there. We're going to be on that ground every Saturday, 9 to 11, and broadcast from there. You around the country, you'll see the broadcast like you did at our old location. We moved out of there. We're going to do several weeks at this historic site and then move into our new headquarters that is going to be permanent and impressive. So make sure you come out, be there for the first Saturday of the Black History Month 2026 and the action rally at Mother AME Zion. And let me again ask you to sign up if you haven't signed up. If you're coming to National Action Network's convention, if you're coming 1 day, 2 days, a half a day, all 4 days, it's April the 8th through the 11th at the Sheraton Times Square. I've not even released the guests, but believe me, you're going to want to be there. Our sessions are free, but you should sign up. Over 3,000 have signed up already, and we're 2 months out. We're not even at February 8th. So believe me, as we fill this up, you're going to be standing in the hall saying, Reverend Al, don't you remember me? And I'm going to say, yeah, I'm going to remember you didn't register, because if you are on the registration, you get the priority seatings. So go to www.nationalactionnetwork.net, www.nationalactionnetwork.net. All right, let's go back to the phone, and let's go to my dear, esteemed activist extraordinaire in Chicago, the beloved Miss Pam. Pam, you're keeping it real with Al Sharpton.
Hello, Reverend Sharpton, and thank you so much for the kind words. And the feeling is mutual, with much love and deep respect for not only you, but for your family, because I know that's a sacrifice. And I extend that also to Reverend Jackson and his family and all of the civil rights leaders who put their lives on the line. I'm just asking, what are we going to do in this moment? How are we going to rise to the occasion just as our ancestors did? And this is not the moment for us to be afraid or just lacking courage, just to do what is right, to say what is right. And there's not going to be one answer to what we need to do. It's going to be all and everything. Because we are dealing with evil in the White House. And it's based out of a political scheme, a political regime. And we know that it's Nazism as well as fascism. You have someone who respects Hitler, and I don't know, maybe he's trying to bring about the Fourth Reich. And so we need to be clear about where we are. So I just wanted to make that comment. But let me just go back, Reverend Sharpton, regarding Black history. Happy Black History Month. And let me just say that we ought to celebrate this month and every month, because everything in this world was shaped by Black people. And I'm the original people. We are. And that's not saying I'm superior. That's just saying I'm original. And I know where I belong and what we need to do. So I'm thinking we need to instill that in our children. I grew up not hearing that I have to be twice as good as white people, that I have to be at least as good as our ancestors, because they had accomplished so much in such a difficult time. And I'd like for us to change the language. No, you need to measure up to a Harriet Tubman. You need to measure up to Ida B. Wells, a Percy Julie, a Malcolm X, Frederick Douglass. That's what you need to do. You need to measure up to a Reverend Sharpton, a Reverend Jesse Jackson. You all have changed the world for the better. And if we don't understand that and want to protect that, then God help us. And I'm serious about this. So I don't have time to hate those who are maggots, and that's the Make America Great Again supporting Trump. We have to let them go. I'm not trying to hate them. I don't have time for that. And I'm not trying to win them back. I want to go capture those voters who you and Reverend Barber say they're not registered and they're not coming to the polls. Jasmine Crockett, Congressman Crockett, Woman Crockett, excuse me, she talks about them, galvanizing those people in Texas. See, I'm clear about what the focus should be. And we have to call every lie, every statement of misinformation, disinformation, all of the propaganda. We have to call it out like you call it out. Because those supporters of this adjudicated sexual abuser, Judge Kaplan said rapist, when they come on the phone with you, they can't even tell a lie with you. They can't. You just try to challenge them. You respectfully let them speak, but they have nothing to say other than pushing propaganda. So that's what we have to do. Push back against the propaganda. You will not come into my inner circle and contaminate it with the lies from the White House and this rogue Republican Party. I just simply would not allow it. So I'm asking us, contact your representative, 202-224-3121. Can get you to any senator's or congressman's office. They should be hearing from us. Reverend Sharpton, your membership should be increasing exponentially. This is tax time, people. Instead of just running to the store for another pair of gym shoes or another purse, red bottom shoes, another outfit, how about getting some memberships for NAN, for PUSH, for all of the organizations, NAACP, all of them that are fighting the legal front. Because we're going to come at this at many angles. Politically, legally, we need to come at it financially. I'm convinced, Reverend Sharpton, we've got to put our money where our mouth is. I'm asking the billionaires and the millionaires who are not tainted by Epstein, where you at? What are you saying? What are you doing? Reverend Sharpton, I would never say this under normal circumstances, but I am going to say this about the victims, because many of their names have been exposed and faces and personal information in the Trump-Epstein files. And let's call it the Trump-Epstein files. So now that it has, Reverend Jackson, somebody with a lot of wealth and money has to put an arm of protection around them. Because these victims, I think at this moment, are going to have to come out and name names. And I hate to put that pressure on them. But see, this DOJ, this rogue DOJ has already exposed them. So they're going to need security, protection, their families. And if they see enough of us coming out to stand up for them, they will call out the names and the dirty deeds. Melinda Gates, Bill Gates, she divorced him. Said he has to answer for some things. I'm just saying, these are things I see, Reverend Sharpton, that need to happen. And those with great wealth and great power,
let's put it to you. Don Lemon being arrested. Miss, I think Ford is her name, the other journalist, arrested. I mean, what are we going to do? What are we going to tell our children? We're fighting for the future. This is a man who is trying to erase Black history, Black people, and he wants to say, make America great again. When was it great for Black people? When they assassinated King? When they were lynching us? When we couldn't walk down the street without being slapped, spit on, or killed?
Wow, that's wonderful and inspiring. Thank you for your call, as always, Pam. We'll be right back. Keeping it real, Sharpton. Be right back.
I want to talk to you. Just wait. I believe that.
Good morning, everybody. I hope the coffee has kicked in by now. I want to start by thanking your leader, the Reverend Al Sharpton, and everyone at the National Action Network for 35 years of standing up for civil rights and opportunity for everyone.
And I couldn't be more grateful for the way that you have blessed the lives of so many, including mine.
As we look today on King Day, let us not forget that we had to struggle to even have this day. They did not wake up one morning and say, let's give a federal holiday to Martin Luther King. People petitioned. People marched. Let us remember now, as we bring our children and grandchildren up the Potomac, that they can see the Washington Monument, the Lincoln Memorial, the Jefferson Memorial, and one memorial that never served as president, but changed this country more than any other American, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.
This was an amazing MLK breakfast.
It is truly an honor, and more importantly, this is an important day for us.
I feel incredibly lucky and honored to be in this room on this day, celebrating Dr. King's legacy of civil rights, especially in the moment that we're facing on a national level. It feels like warmth and home being in this room.
So I'm encouraged by today. I'm encouraged that we're getting out, we're protesting, but more needs to be done. We need to lean in.
And let's keep fighting, because the job is not done here. And I just feel so honored to get this award. It's not about getting an award, it's about doing the work. And let's keep up with the work.
Many people cannot focus because they have not really come to terms with their calling and life purpose. In order to focus, you must also be clear on what you're focusing on. So if you're not clear on your purpose, if you're not clear on your life's calling, then focus on seeking that. Because if you just read the ways and roads you traveled that you didn't even choose, that were sort of just laid out for you by God, in that it's telling you, speaking to you about what your purpose is and what you were born to do and be. I learned the things that I didn't plan had to be planned by God, and God's plan was directed toward God's purpose in my life. And I focus on that. Not focus on what others do, not focus on how well they're doing or bad they're doing, but focus on whether I'm in line and aligned with what I'm supposed to be about. And in order to move straight ahead, you have to be focused on the path you're running on. And I think that is extremely important about the funding. But I also want to add how they're changing what can be taught. You have states outright saying you can't teach Black history and you can't teach certain other histories and the curriculum. You have this administration that is literally taking out exhibits from the Smithsonian. So we have not only an education problem in terms of resources, we have an education problem in terms of curriculum and what people are being taught. So I have one grandchild, 6-year-old. When he gets to high school, it may be just against the law for him to learn about certain parts of American history, which includes blacks. We don't want to talk about slavery. We want to talk about the good side of America. Well, what does that mean? That's not history. Everything was not good. And I think that that is the threat that we've got to fight, which is why we've got to fight with the courts and the streets, because they're literally changing the textbooks as we go. As they do that, they change the opportunities, because then the fight against affirmative action is not having access to these institutions and telling these institutions, this whole fight around DEI, which they did, started in Harvard with a black woman president. Started with them saying you can't teach diversity in an Ivy League school like Harvard. It didn't start in Little Rock at the high school. This fight, this time, was Harvard. And they went from there on. And I think that we've got to have the same resistance. If they could fight in the 50s, at ACP, the Defense Fund together and deal with the question from Little Rock in terms of desegregation, then we that are far more educated, far more economically secure personally, have no excuse in the age of what they did in Harvard not to be standing up back in this stuff.
It's been a long time coming, but I know
1968, Dr. Martin Luther King was killed in Memphis, Tennessee. And it has been the commitment of National Action Network for always in the month he was killed to let them know they killed the dreamer.
I have a dream today.
When they came for the dream.
That I want to end. He talked about the dry bones in the valley.
I'll tell you that.
The only reason that the wind could blow life into the bones is because at some point they had to be connected. If the wind had blown into a disconnected body, it still wouldn't have worked. So before he prophesied to the wind, they had to first get the foot bone to connect to the ankle bone, and the ankle bone to the calf bone, and to the knee bone, and the knee bone to the thigh bone. If we are to prophesy to the wind, we must first connect this body. We must connect Eddie Long to Farrakhan and Cornel West to Elders and Lowry to Sharpton. If we can connect this body, then God will blow the breath of life into our community. But as long as we are disconnected, the wind can't blow because it's blowing on disconnected dry bones. But the good news is that we're the children of people that have been through worse than this, and we're still here. So even though I get despondent, I don't ever get depressed, because I want the world to know you won't beat us, because we're the children of those that took the worst form of slavery and brutality that ever lived, that ever existed. Our parents survived the Middle Passage. Only the strong got here, and then we lost our name, our culture, our religion, and we're still here. But you don't know who we are. We're the children of Chaka Zulu. We're the children of Mary Bethune. We're the children of Marcus Garvey. We're the children of Martin Luther King. We'll be here. We were first and we'll be last. We know who we are.
I'm here because I must be here. Democracy is not there for the pig, and you have to fight for democracy. That's what it is. What Trump will erase, we will replace.
It's the dreamers in many cases have reversed and tried to turn it into a nightmare. We come to Wall Street rather than Washington this year to let them know you can try to turn back the clock, but you can't turn back time. We gonna keep the dream alive on Wall Street. Your host, Reverend Al Sharpton, and we're back taking your calls at 1-877-532-5797, and our caller from Germany, Rick from Germany, calls in. They listen to us in Europe, can respond to the last caller. Let me say, I've been talking about Politics Nation, MS Now, or my MS Now show, and among the folk I'm going to have on, like I said, I only have certain people that's in the thick of things. There's a huge battle for redistricting in Maryland, and I had breakfast Friday with Governor Wes Moore, and he's going to be on this weekend to talk about how they're trying to fight back. And the one thing I encourage our people to do is those in office, he's governor, those in the Senate, Raphael Warnock and I was on Morning Joe together, and others, is that we need them to get things done. They need to stand up, fight, but also do it in a way that does not take down the dignity of our community. Let us do the activism, and let them do the legislating and the representation. Let me say one that I'm very proud of is the congressman from Chicago who has served, I think, with dignity. He's been firm on the issues. He's been out there, but he's also not embarrassed us by going too far. He is well-trained and shows it at a level that makes us proud. He's like a little brother to me. I've known him all his life, just about. He's known me all of his life. And he's going to be the co-chair of the traditional prayer breakfast that occurs in Washington every year, and who's ever president comes. And he's the co-chair. And before he does it, I want him to explain what it is and why it is significant and how he's going to handle it. I'm talking about Congressman Jonathan Luther Jackson. How you doing, Congressman?
See you, Reverend Al. Uncle Al. Great work. Keep up the fight, man.
I'm going to try. Now tell us about this. This is big cotton, and I know you know how to handle it. So give our listeners around the country, well, around everywhere, a forecast of what is your intent at such a position.
Well, this is the 74th annual National Prayer Breakfast. This is supposed to be a breakfast that unites the nation through prayer. Many religious symbols are wrapped around so much of "In God We Trust," our money, our currency, the edifices around this facility. The presidency was recognized as a very lonely job to have the world's largest economy, the biggest military, and how do you restrain that power? And it's an enormous responsibility. And so members of both parties get together and pray for not only just our government, for parliamentarians all around the world that have to make these difficult decisions. I am the Democratic representative on the bipartisan prayer breakfast. And so even the president can stand in the hour in need of prayer. This is the same president that can close the USAID and have millions of people now they're going to lose their lives across the world because of lack of food. Same president that can close down the Department of Education that throws in the education in peril of so many citizens and saying nursing isn't something that should be financed as an advanced degree. Same president that can cut off SNAP and food assistance. Even the president needs prayer. So, and tomorrow is my bipartisan role with my colleague, Congressman Ben Klein. I seek to comfort the disturbed and disturb the comfortable. I think the Democrats have to make sure that we show up at these events where prayer is involved. We are faith-based people. We are moral people, and I will not concede that high ground to them. So I will be there. I ask you for your words of encouragement of prayer, Reverend Al, and I'll be on stage with the president tomorrow. And it's my obligation, it's my duty as a representative of the 1st Congressional District of Illinois. I'm not endorsing him. I don't sign on to anything that he's a part of. I've opposed all of his legislative priorities. With my colleague, Congressman Cleo Fields, on January 27th last year, we started the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Caucus at the height of his power and before it started to wane. So I've not changed, but we do seek to change him.
Well, and I'm so glad that you're coming on now, and I'm trying to get you with your people to come on Politics Nation over the weekend, so people cannot misconstrue your being there is not an endorsement. Your being there is that we are not conceding the high moral ground and prayer ground to the right wing. I think it's time for the Christian right to meet the right Christians. I say that all the time.
I love it, and I'm going to try to figure out where I can weave that in. So on that stage, I'm not going to give you credit for it. I'm going to be just like you. I mean, that is so good. I'm just going to say, as I've always said.
Yeah, I know. I was trained by I was trained by your father, Reverend Jesse Jackson. So I know how we can weave stuff in. I got it. I've been weaving his stuff in for 40 years. He could be on the program
right now. He would say you trained him. On certain things.
Yeah, he would. Let me ask you, as you look at this situation, we saw today that Holman of Homeland Security announced 700 of the federal officers they're pulling out of Minneapolis. You went down there early with a congressional delegation. You went to the site of where the killings were. How do you respond to where the administration seems to now be withdrawing, and what are the steps ahead that we ought to be rallying around?
That's not because of morals that they're withdrawing. That's because of polling, that even the MAGA crowd is upset and disturbed by what they're seeing, and throwing people on the ground, snatching women out of cars, cutting their seat belts, putting knees on people's necks in Minnesota with people's faces on the ground in subarctic temperature. It's not humane when you see a 5-year-old child that they're trying to use as a piece of bait to lure family members out of a house. Can you say enough is enough? I mean, this is disgusting, it's racist, and it's so wrong. And this has nothing to do, and I share with my colleagues all the time, this is not the Gestapo, and that's a bit of an insult. This isn't a totalitarian state that has only a monolithic group that has to have everybody convinced over through secret police to try to be indoctrinated. No, this, if you understand African-American history, and this is why people should go to the African-American History Museum and why my white colleagues should go and understand American history. This is a part of the slave patrol. This is identifying people on their race, their ethnicity, the sound of their voices, and saying, you're from, where are you from? This is like racist to its core. But this is the history of the slave patrol. This is U.S. born, bred, and inspired. This is new form of racism that's been carried over into the new millennium. When you look at 2003 at the start of this Homeland Security, and now it's up to it started at $16 billion, now it's over $130 billion. And on July 4th of 2025, when they signed this one big, beautiful bill, and they put a slush fund into the Immigration Customs Enforcement Agency to build these detention camps, slash places where they can warehouse human beings. Now this is the 10th largest military force in the world. It's the 10th largest. This has nothing to do with the CIA, with the state police, with the county police, with the city police, with the United States military, with the Justice Department. This is a federalized military force just for internal issues. It needs to be reined in, and people still should have the presumption of innocence, and people still should have probable cause before you stop them. We cannot suspend habeas corpus and our right to a fair trial. You just can't round up people. You need judicial warrants to pick people in. Let the system work, not start to break the system and try to use this slave patrol. This should have been eliminated a long time ago.
And I think that is absolutely both the political and moral grounds that we must stand on. As we also are looking, Congressman, at the 2 weeks that we have now to see what they're going to come up with to put back in the spending bill around ICE and Homeland Security. What are the points that we must insist are non-negotiable from your vantage point?
ICE agents should take off their hoods or their masks. Show your face. If it's honorable work, show your face. We should also make sure that officers that kill people on duty have to be held accountable. You cannot get away with putting 9 bullets in the back of Mr. Alex Pretty's body, and Jonathan Ross that went on to kill Renee Good should be held accountable. The young man that was killed in Los Angeles on New Year's Eve by an off-duty ICE agent, he should also face this. The federal government should not interfere with local crimes that are committed. In the state of Minnesota, under the leadership of Attorney General Keith Ellis, he should be able to investigate the crime. Who shot those guns? Now it's interesting, Reverend Al, since we're keeping it real, we find out that for Alex Pretty, now that they've released the names of the 2 officers, one is Garcia, I believe, and the other one, I think, is Ochoa. I'm not exactly, but certainly 2 Hispanic sounding names. They've outed those officers, and they said that this is now a homicide investigation. They've not come forward with that on Jonathan Ross yet. So for those ICE agents that are Hispanic origin that think that they are white, they're going to be held to a different standard, and they shouldn't be killing American citizens of any color.
Absolutely. Well, we're going to be praying with you and standing with you and hopefully get you on over the weekend as well, talk about these and other issues. He is the congressman of the 1st Congressional District in Chicago, Illinois, Congressman Jonathan Luther Jackson.
Happy Black History Month, man. 100 years.
100 years. 100 years of Black History Month. Thank you. Thank you. Talk to you soon. Let's take a break. Be right back. Keeping it real. Sharpton. Be right back. Around this is so wicked. Now they're going to they released last night a memo that said that the FBI was investigating Good. They're trying to come up with something on the victim. Not they're going to investigate who shot her. The ICE agent shooting in the head 3 times. They're going to investigate her. And you wonder why we need movements. You wonder why we need to stand up. Hakeem Jeffries was here Monday. Why we need to deal with this midterm election. Well, Reverend, I get calls on my radio show every day. Well, I don't see where voting changed them. Well, all right. Let me tell you where, if they lose the Congress this year, where it changes. The Speaker would be Hakeem Jeffries, who grew up right here in Name, as he said on Monday. The Speaker decides then the calendar for the legislative session. The chairs of the committees become Democrats. So the Judiciary Committee, now watch this in the barbershop. The chair of the Judiciary Committee, y'all saw the Judiciary Committee have the hearing and brought in the special counsel yesterday. Well, the chair this time, if the Democrats win, would be a Democrat who could then subpoena the Attorney General Bondi, all of the folks that were involved in January 6th. They can subpoena the vice for all of them. because you've got the power of the gavel. Wonder why nobody has asked Pence how he felt running for his life January 6th. Well, if you get the Judiciary Committee, you can subpoena Pence.
This is a defining moment. As our world faces urgent challenges, the movement comes together. National Action Network's 35th anniversary and convention, April 8th through the 11th. Leaders, activists, and community voices united for justice and change. The moment is now. Be in the room.
It is really a intersection of both emotions, because when I was 11 or 12 years old, so I watched the news a lot and I became enthralled with the image of Adam Clayton Powell. I was around 11 and I convinced my mother to let me come up to this church to see Adam Clayton Powell. And in those days, people in Brooklyn used to say it's dangerous to go to Harlem. And folk in Harlem used to say it's dangerous to go to Brooklyn. Now, to 135th Street, and I came, sat right back there, and Adam Clayton Powell walked down this platform. And I remember after the church, in those days, Johnson, the pastor's study was right inside with the plexiglass. And I knocked on the door and I told the secretary I wanted to meet Reverend Powell. She looked down this little 11-year-old boy. She said, "Really?" She said, "Who should I say?" I said, "Reverend Al Sharpton."
But for me, dignity means we're gonna walk side by side with you, or through you. We're gonna be with dignity and integrity. We don't want any more than you have, and we're not gonna accept any less than you have. That's my thought.
I wanted to come today on Martin Luther King Day, because Martin Luther King died in Memphis fighting for wages for garbage workers. And I believe he would want those of us that come in his tradition to be standing with nurses and standing with those that should be getting wages for saving the lives and caring for people that the private hospitals and other hospitals seem not to care about. How can you spend King Day and turn your back on people that are working and not insured right and not given the right wages and not given the right respect when they're taking care of our afflicted, our ill, our infirm? In the name of Martin Luther King, I join the nurses in demanding justice for the nurses. This is not only a labor issue, this is a civil rights issue. This is a human rights issue. It's an issue that black and white, Latino, Asian, all can stand together. Because those that want to make profits out of people's illness, rather than pay for those that care for them, that stand for them, that are there when their families are not there in some cases. So we had to come on King Day. Many of the dignitaries came to the House of Justice, but I left to come and stand here with them to let them know that Martin Luther King Day is a day to
to stand up for those that stand in the cold, but they never left the patients in the cold. No justice. No justice. No justice. No peace. No justice. No peace. No justice. No peace. No justice. No peace. All right. Thank you, Mr. Sharpton. Thank you.
Oh, do I seem excited? I am excited because this Saturday, the National Action Network Saturday Action Rally starts live on WBLS 107.5 FM in New York. We're going to expand. Every Saturday morning, we're live on WBLS 107.5 from 10 a.m. to 11. You'll hear the message. You'll feel the energy. You'll be involved. You won't be sitting around talking about, oh my God, look at what's happening. You'll be involved in dealing with what's happening. I'm excited, and you should be excited too. Turn on WBLS 10 a.m. every Saturday morning. I have a message for you, and if you want to, you can come to the House of Justice and be there live, 145th Street and Lenox Avenue. We kick off at 9, and we don't stop until we deal with getting our people energized. Reverend Al Sharpton, and we're back. 1-877-532-5797. 1-877-532-5797. And let's go back to the phones and to our message board. Let me go to the phone. Let me go to Disco Bryant in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. WURD, Disco Bryant, you're keeping it real with Al Sharpton.
WURD, most important media in America is black media, as we have seen with Don Lemon. So everybody, as much as we love NPR, PBS, if anybody can, please support independent black media in America. And thank you, Rev, for this sacred show that you do every day. I have asked you point blank before, Rev, what you would do if you were invited onto a Manosphere podcast. And you have said, much to my delight, that you would confront these guys, that you would not give them comfort. Rev, on July 18th of last year, Texas Democratic Senate candidate who you have interviewed, James Tallarico, sat down with Joe Rogan, the leader of that MAGA manosphere. Joe Rogan, who it pains me to remind the audience, called Kamala Harris, this is a direct quote, the most disliked vice president in U.S. history. So Joe Rogan was quoting the man that he endorsed, Donald Trump. Anyway, Texas Democratic Senate candidate running against Jasmine Crockett, James Tallarico, when he sat down with Joe Rogan, he opened that 3-hour conversation, Rev, by saying this, direct quote, "It's an honor to be here." And Rev, now I'm going to read a little bit of what else he says to Joe Rogan in the course of that conversation. Quote, "It does feel like everything is making us feel terrible," James Tallarico says. "Whether it's the news we're watching, the TV, the social media algorithms. But I think this podcast is evidence in the opposite direction. Because why would people tune into these really long conversations with very different people? I mean, you had Trump and Bernie Sanders in the same chair, right?" Tallarico asks Rogan. "So why are people attracted to that? Because this," he's saying about Joe Rogan's show, he says, "this is not clickbait stuff on your feed that's just trying to provoke conflict. So clearly this format, Rogan's show, exposes that people do have a hunger for something that builds understanding, right?" End quote. That's what James Tallarico said to Joe Rogan, that his show, Rev, builds understanding. Now, Rev, 13 days ago, Bernie Sanders went on to another podcaster show, Theo Vaughn, who is Joe Rogan's friend, Joe Rogan endorsed, and who got Joe Rogan's blessing, and now goes around the country and sells out amphitheaters doing his bigotry comedy. His comedy, Rev, Theo Vaughn's comedy, the entire routine is bigotry. His jokes have included one in which he said to Nikki Glaser, the comedian, back before the election in 2024, he said, "Maybe slavery never happened because," and I quote, "they never found the boats." And that made Nikki Glaser, who I used to like, made her keel over in laughter. She thought that was really funny, that he would make a joke about slavery, maybe it didn't happen. And another joke that he shared with Bernie's friend Hassan Piker, the leftist streamer, another joke Theo Vaughn told with him was about how, quote, "racism used to be so easy back in the good old days." They both thought that was really funny. So Bernie went on his show, Rev, for a second time 13 days ago, didn't dare confront him about anything, laughed at all his asinine jokes, and every time Bernie criticizes the Republican Party during this interview, Rev, Bernie could not help himself to couple his criticism of the Republican Party with criticism of the Democratic establishment. So, Rev, we constantly hear criticism of Tulsi Gabbard on places like MS Now and in pro-democracy media, but something we never hear. We're never reminded that it was Bernie Sanders who first legitimized Tulsi Gabbard when Tulsi endorsed Bernie in 2016. So, Rev, I would love to see someone, maybe you could invite Bernie onto Politics Nation and actually confront him about his fawning interviews with Joe Rogan and Theo Vaughn and Bernie's bestowing upon American politics the monster that is Tulsi Gabbard. Rev, I'm really beside myself. I was a leftist. I used to think Bernie was cool, right? And I've just woken up to a nightmare.
Well,
that
let
he's a
me
cult
say
leader
this.
every day.
Let me say this. I
Thank
think.
you, Rev.
Thank you for your call. I think that that the critique of the left must be on the same standards and the same measurements that we critique the right. And I've told everybody on the left and the right that I'm not looking for better slave masters. I'm looking for freedom. And a lot of our leftists think that we ought to go from the right telling us what to do to the left telling us what to do. No, we need to do what is in the interest of our community and everybody else. So I don't have no problems telling anybody that, look, we play the game by one set of rules. Nobody should be guiding us, for us, but us. And I look at a lot of their gatherings, we're not involved. Let me get ready to take my break, and we're coming back. More of you on the phones. 1-877-532-5797. Sharpton, keeping it real. Be right back.
That I want to end. He talked about the dry bones in the valley.
I'll tell you that.
The only reason that the wind could blow life into the bones is because at some point they had to be connected. If the wind had blown into a disconnected body, it still wouldn't have worked. So before he prophesied to the wind, they had to first get the foot bone to connect to the ankle bone, and the ankle bone to the calf bone, and to the knee bone, and the knee bone to the thigh bone. If we are to prophesy to the wind, we must first connect this body. We must connect Eddie Long to Farrakhan and Cornel West to Elders and Lowry to Sharpton. If we can connect this body, then God will blow the breath of life into our community. But as long as we are disconnected, the wind can't blow because it's blowing on disconnected dry bones. But the good news is that we're the children of people that have been through worse than this, and we're still here. So even though I get despondent, I don't ever get depressed, because I want the world to know you won't beat us, because we're the children of those that took the worst form of slavery and brutality that ever lived, that ever existed. Our parents survived the Middle Passage. Only the strong got here, and then we lost our name, our culture, our religion, and we're still here. But you don't know who we are. We're the children of Chaka Zulu. We're the children of Mary McLeod Bethune. We're the children of Marcus Garvey. We're the children of Martin Luther King. We'll be here. We were first, and we'll be last. We know who we are.
Reverend Sharpton, how do we begin to make peace with our past?
I don't think it's our obligation to make peace with our past. I think it's our obligation to learn from our past and to understand that soon we gonna be the past. I mean, a lot of us act like we gonna be
Rosa Parks was not only the mother of the modern civil rights movement, she was the mother of this nation. Why would you say that, Sharpton? Because you called George Washington the father of the nation, but when he became father, we wasn't included in the nation. Women were not included in the nation. The first time we had a parent in this nation is when all of us was included, and Rosa Parks did that on December 1st, 1955. I heard somebody say Jim Crow is who she fought, and Jim Crow is still around. But Jim Crow is old. That's not who I'm mindful of today. The problem is Jim Crow has sons. The one we got to battle is James Crow Jr. Esquire. He's a little more educated. He's a little slicker. He's a little more polished. but the results are the same. He doesn't put you in the back of the bus. He just puts referendums on the ballot to end affirmative action when you can't go to school. He doesn't call you, erase your name. He just marginalizes your existence. He doesn't tell you that he's set against you. He sets up institutional racism, where you have a nation respond looking for weapons in Iraq that are not there, but can't see a hurricane in Louisiana that is there. James Crow Jr. Esquire. That's who we got to fight. And if we are to win, if we are to really memorialize Rosa Parks, she would tell us to do in the generation of his son what she and Dr. King did to his daddy. They didn't talk a fight, they fought the fight. They didn't show up at funerals, they showed up on the picket line and the march line and the jailhouse. It amazes me that we sit there acting like we don't have work to do. And that many of us in our own community are mocking her memory. They formed a movement when they had none of what we got. You realize that Dr. King and Dr. Abernathy and them formed a boycott after Rosa Parks, where people stayed off the bus for a year, went to rallies every night, and they never had email, never had a cell phone, never could go online. Here you got 2 cell phones in your pocket, emails, computers at the house, and can't even get a block association meeting together. We've got so much more that they gave us, and we're doing so much less with it. They went to vote when people were threatening their lives. Medgar Evers was shot dead in his driveway, left 3 children inside that never knew how it was to have a father in their adult years, died to give us the right to vote. Pregnant women marched through the streets of Birmingham. They sick police dogs on them to give us the right to vote. 4 little girls bombed in a church in Birmingham, Alabama to give us the right to vote. And here you are 40 years later in Detroit, Michigan. No dogs biting you, no bombs going off, no bullets, too lazy and ungrateful. Making mockery of her memory. Making mockery of her memory. Nobody should have to beg you to vote. Nobody should have to beg you to stand up and protect the rights that they died and suffered to give us. You can't take care of one thing on the ballot in Michigan when they had to change the laws of all 50 states. You complaining about one referendum.
Let's go.
When they did a whole revolution.
Little Mountain, North Carolina. South Carolina, I'm sorry. Little Mountain, South Carolina.
Well, Al, how you doing? Look, I'm bringing up something that's really not that important until later on you have a personal type of mix with this. But look at this. I heard back when I was growing up about the president of the United States. He sets a moral compass, you know. And so when I grew up and was going through that, it didn't really make that much sense to me. But look at this. Look at the Bob Rhino family thing that happened. The kids killing the parents. Now we're looking at a kidnapping. Nancy, I can't think of her name, but, you know, this lady, 84 years old, she got kidnapped. And right now they're trying to determine what is this, what really happened, because we haven't had a kidnapping like that in a long time. But let me bring myself to the point now to make sure that you understand what I'm getting at. Now I can think back about your president when he himself is a let's say a crook, a thug, a mafia leader type of an imagery. Once the morale factor start dropping, you don't know what in the world that you're going to have in your own community. That's the point I wanted to bring up. And I do think I'm looking at this thing about Nancy, the 84-year-old woman. I'm hoping it's not another family type of a thing. Because if it is, then I know now which way our country is going. It's totally losing the morale guidance factor of the highest person in the White House. You know, America don't even look at that no more. I don't know if you get my point, or maybe I explained it too vague.
But I'm trying to understand. So you're saying what now?
I'm saying because of who we chose for president. You know, as I think back when I was coming along, the president had a moral because of how his guidance was, his decisions. You know, the country moved towards that, or they just didn't do anything because they wasn't sure. But now, under Donald Trump, the handrails are coming off of our entire governing factor as an individual citizens. If we wanted to do something, hey, we don't have no thoughts about it. We just do it.
Okay. Thank you for your call. Let's go to Miss Richardson in Chevy Chase, Maryland. Miss Richardson.
Yes, good afternoon, dear. How are you today, Ray?
I'm good.
That's good. You know, my daughter and I, we were talking just today. We went up to the bank in Plum Orchard, Silver Spring. You know, I told you they have everything out there. You can get everything, I mean, under the sun. And we talked to him, and we was talking about Trump. And when we were walking out the bank, because we had about a 10-minute conversation with the bank employee there, and he says, what is going on now? He said he would vote for Bernie Sanders any day over what's in the White House now. And my daughter, I grinned, and I kind of chuckled. I told the man, I said, well, I don't know. The black community seems to have a problem with a Jewish person, you know. And so I don't know why that is, because during the 1910s and the 20s, blacks and Jewish people got along. They had the same similar incidents and tragedies.
Well, I don't know that that's necessarily true. Governor Shapiro's Jewish in Pennsylvania, and he wins the black votes. I can name a lot of Jewish people around the country that blacks vote for.
Right. But what I'm saying is, Rev, you know, it's just that what you hear on a daily basis coming from, you know, not those folks, but just everyday people.
No,
like
I understand what you're saying. I understand what you're saying, but I think Disco Bryans was not dealing with whether blacks were anti-Semitic. It was dealing with whether progressives were really saying and standing up for what they claimed to be. And he's using Bernie Sanders as an example of that. Not that Bernie's Jewishness had anything to do with it.
But I mean, what I'm saying is, but I was going to speak to that too, because see, when we look at these people, you know, we can only see what they may be, you know, and then jokes are come from Democrats the same way, because even Schumer said on C-SPAN, he says when the cameras and mics and everything is off, he hears some terrible things coming from the Democrats. words that you and I don't recommend blacks be saying with their children and around them. Even though you hear a lot of it going on in the malls where the parents are saying the nasty words to their own babies in strollers going in the mall. They talk to their children with these, empathetic words. And but I'm saying jokes it's been with that, with politics and men and what they say, and we just seem to go by what they don't hear off of camera or off mic. But when these people get off of there, you just can't point to Bernie and say Bernie is a racist or Bernie is this or that, because he's just laughing at somebody that he may think the person's a nonsensical, but he's just doing that to not make the man feel bad, I guess. I don't know. But that's done with Biden. When Biden, before he was president, Rev, I'm only saying this, because that man stirred something in my veins. Because Bernie gets hard treatment on this station. I don't know why. Because he's a socialist. He's for the downtrodden, helping people. But yet, we don't want to even to see a Jewish person in the White House ever. There's never been a Jewish
person. I don't agree with that. As you just said, Chuck Schumer would not be Chuck Schumer if blacks hadn't voted for him. I do not think it's his Jewishness. I do not think that blacks are anti-Semitic in large part. Are there some? Yes, and there's some Jews that are anti-black. But I do not think that Bernie Sanders, first of all, a lot of blacks did vote for Bernie. He never got the majority of blacks because a lot of the issues they didn't address. I told you at our convention, National Action Network's convention, in 2020, when they were running for Democratic nomination, I had all the presidential candidates at National Action Network, like we probably have this year. And I asked them all about would they support a study in reparations. And every one of them, Kamala Harris, all the way to, you name them, on the guy, Beto O'Rourke, Pete Buttigieg, all of them said they would support it. But Bernie Sanders. So you got to deal with the issue by it. Bernie Sanders said he would not support a study on reparations for blacks. So I'm going by, it had nothing to do with him being Jewish. A lot of our community, including me, support reparations. Now, that doesn't mean that I couldn't support him on other things, but I have the right to disagree with him without saying I'm anti-Jewish.
Right, but I'm just saying, Rev, that when I heard Schumer, it wasn't that I was addressing his Jewishness, but he was saying right on the C-SPAN to us, all of the nation, that when those men, whether they're Democrat, Republican, Jewish, or Anglo from Germany or wherever they come from, where they're not Jewish, see, Jewish people went to those countries because of tyranny, and then of course they blended in with these Anglos, of course, but we just single out them as being the ones that's the bad guys, and Rev, I always come to your rescue because you do present fairness. But I'm just saying what Schumer is saying that not only he's just saying what these men will say off mic: Democrats, Republicans, Jewish, non-Jewish, Hebrew, whatever, Hindu, all of the different ones that will, like that man, the one that Trump has got appointed. What's his name? The one that's he's not. Is he an attorney? The one that always is picking on other blacks, and he has this office. I can't think of his name. Is his name Paxton? I can't think of his name. But anyway, the things that they say, and it's off mic, off camera, and it's from every political persuasion. And men will say nasty words. They'll laugh and do that. Because, see, they all know blacks are at the bottom of the totem pole. And they know our people are trying to fight for our rights. We got to fight for our voters' rights again. Trump is going to probably try to stop the midterms on. I don't know what this man is going to do, but I'm just saying he has got the three branches of the federal government backing him up. So if we keep having heart attacks and our men dying, because black men are dying left and right because of stress, And Trump knows it, and he wants to do that. He wants to get rid of black men, period. But what I'm trying to say, Rev, they all joke. They all, what Disco was saying is true, but they all laugh. They're men.
Yeah,
they're elderly men.
What I'm saying is that they can say whatever they say, and they probably all say something. We got to go by what they do, how they legislate, how they vote. And I think that if we're waiting on a perfect party, then we'll never get there. I think that we've got to have permanent, no permanent friends with this word, no permanent enemies, permanent interests. We deal with whoever is in our interest. And I think that's the only way everybody else plays in this country. They don't care what we say in private as long as we vote for them in public. And I think we've got to be grown-ups about this. Let me go. I got to take my goodbye for the day. Let me thank all of you that called in, you that listened in, you that called in and couldn't get through, but hung in there anyhow. Remember, whatever you do, wherever you go, however you feel, tell somebody, tell everybody, tell anybody. Reverend Al told you personally, keep it real. Keep it real. Keep it real. I'll talk to you tomorrow.
Breaking news.